Husam, say hi. Yeah, okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I will tell you something about our spatial strategy for Utrecht, focusing on 2040. It's already been 4 years ago. We developed the vision. No. Yes. So to start with, Utrecht, it's the fourth largest city of the Netherlands. So Amsterdam is the biggest, then Rotterdam and The Hague will follow, and Utrecht is the next one. Utrecht is the hometown of Rietveld. He's an architect and a furniture designer, very famous. And also Nijntje is born in Utrecht. I also mentioned it, but Connie already told you a lot about the Academy of Urbanism visiting Utrecht. So hopefully we'll see you in here, and then we can show some pictures in my presentation in real life. Utrecht is in the middle of the Netherlands. Just before we started, they asked me, how far is it from the sea? So I checked, it's about 60 kilometers, but if you go 60 kilometers the other way, you're in Germany. So we are not a big country, and Utrecht is in the middle of it. One of the important things about it is that it's surrounded by varied landscape, and that makes Utrecht very interesting to live in because it's in the middle, but also the landscape is really nearby. And instead of other cities, Utrecht has a sort of mid-sized scale. So we are a large city, but we have a friendly size, or we call it a human scale. So it's really possible to meet your friends not having appointments in Utrecht. And we have a big task because we are in the middle of the Netherlands. A lot of people want to live here, so our task is to build 60,000 dwellings and also 70,000 jobs until 2040. We are now with 475 inhabitants, and we will grow to 100,000 inhabitants more. So it's a really big task to do so. And we see that unless we are growing, it's also bringing a lot of pressure on the qualities of Utrecht. So we have the left picture, it's real day traffic jams on bike in the center of Utrecht. We see that the parks are getting crowded, and we have a lot of waiting lists for sports. I'm living in Utrecht also, and my son of 7, if he wants to switch his sport, then there's a waiting list for 2 years to another sport. So that's our big things in Utrecht, to have not only those dwellings, but more tasks to take care of. And what we also see is that we have increasing inequality. So healthcare, social security, increasing inequality of opportunities, risk of social divides. There's all things happening. So we see that it's hard for people to find an affordable home. And the map is showing the neighborhoods where it's harder for the people to live in. And well, for all the problems of tasks we have yes, it's better. Sorry, I was clicking away your menus. We have the spatial strategy for Utrecht. I will tell you about it, where we have the 10-minute city as a concept. And we also made last year a new social vision for Utrecht, which is focusing on financial security, growing up with opportunities, and our base thing as healthy urban living. About the 10-minute city. We found out that urbanization is more than just building homes. We call it the barcode. And it's actually showing that if you're building 60,000 dwellings, you also need space for working, for energy, for healthcare, for schools, for culture, for room for playing, for green, for water, infrastructure, like everything. And we visualized it in the barcode, and it it helped us really to make it in the ears that a growing city is more than just building homes. And the spatial concept for Utrecht is the 10-minute city that we like to use that the growth to enhance the quality of the city and the landscape. So we really want that that proximity is crucial, so that the things you use every day are nearby. So it's easier to walk or to cycle to the school, to the playground, to the theater. Like everything's like the daily functions should be nearby. And we see that the network of the greenery and also the infrastructure are the basic structures to organize the city and to enhance the growth of the city. Of course, this 10-minute city is based on the 15-minute city of Carlos Moreno. The vision of the nearby, it's not only about the 10 minutes or the 15 minutes, how close by it is organized, but it's also the way of living that you use a lot of amenities close by, so it's easier to walk and to cycle. So you need less cars in the streets. We have more space for green, and it's also more also social. So you meet your neighbors and do your local shopping nearby. We see as the city of Utrecht, we are transforming from a city which is concentrated on the central station, where the landscapes is around. We are transforming to a city which has more centers, several centers, and we are trying to connect the landscape not only surround by the city, but also just getting the landscape into the city. So we are transforming to a concentric city to a more polycentric city. And that leads to this vision map where we adding a few new centers where the most dwellings will be. And where we have also space for a lot of amenities and public transport. We introduced 6 principles as a condition for healthy urban living, and I will introduce those in the coming slides. So what I already told, we want to start with a green-blue structure. So now the landscape is around, and we really want to strengthen the landscape framework into the city as a foundation for the urbanism. So for the dwellings we should provide. We are really trying to have the urbanization, dus the amount of dwellings and working spaces, and greening in balance, but it's really hard to organize that. And the second principle is that the landscape starts really at the front door and then ends in the regional greenery. And so this picture is visualization it. We start with greenery of houses and the streets. It's going to the public gardens and the neighborhood parks, then to a bigger public park, and then we have green corridors, and in the end you end up in the bigger landscapes surrounding the city. And on all those projects we're working on, it's not only greening the streets, but also making it a stronger network of waters and green corridors. And one example, which is, well, you should come to Utrecht to see it in real, but in the left is how about 10 to 20 years the Katerijnensingel looked like. It was like 11-lane highway in the middle of the city, and the last 10 years we transformed into the single park. It's really a city park where people, when it's lunchtime, like now, then it's so busy, people making a walk around the city. It's really an added quality to the city. The next principle is connected city. So it's really important to add public transport to Utrecht to enhance the growth of the amount of inhabitants. Despite the growth, we try to remain the car use as the same, so it's not rising also, and public transport is needed by that. And we also see that we need more space for bicycles and pedestrians combined by this public transport. And we have a concept which is I don't know how to translate it in English, but we call it the wheel and the spokes, I guess it is. So we are in the middle of the train network, so we have a lot of train connections, and we want to have a few new public transport connections, which are these, and then all connected by a wheel, so you don't have to go to the central station to go to another city center. And one of also the most important things in Utrecht, and I think also in the Netherlands, it's common, but Utrecht is also very working on it, is on this cycling infrastructure. So you see on the left a picture of our bicycle storage, I would say. It's like 12,000 bicycles at the Utrecht Central, dus in the main station. It's 3 layers. You can go by your bike through it. And on the right, you see a picture of a new bridge, which is connected to a school. So really invest in this cycling infrastructure, because a lot of Utrecht citizens use the bike as first transport option. And you also see that we are working on the transformation of the public space. So on the left, there are a lot of people waiting for a traffic light, and we try to transform the public space to more a place to be with terraces, but also still a lot of bicycles parking there. But that you see that the road is mainly for cyclists, and then the car comes second. And we also, by making the spatial strategy, had to think of where all those dwelling has to end up. And the conditions are that we try the densification of the city. We want to be a compact city, so everything is in cycling distance, close by amenities, and that also that the landscape surrounded, we want to preserve it, because it brings a lot of quality. And we made a decision to have more high-rise centers with a high density, and that brings a rich contrast in the city, because now Utrecht, I think most of the dwellings are 3-4 layers, and in these new centers we will have a higher density and also more high-rise in it, and that brings us that in those centers we can really have an own mix and an own identity, and all the centers together are complementary to each other, and it also brings us that it has enough people living there to make enough amenities, and also we have enough people living there so that we can organize this public transport we need. So this is an example of a Beurskwartier, which is next to the central station. It's one of the newest high-rise building. So the building on the right are the artist impressions, and in the building on the left is the first part, which is built now. It's really a good example, and it's really a big icon in Utrecht, because you can see it in the facade. There's a lot of green, so it's really an icon of the city's vision of healthy urban living, and I really like it. And next to it's we have the Merwede Kanaalzone. Maybe you already also heard something about it. It's quite a unique project, which is in total 10,000 dwellings. And the concept about it is that it's almost car-free. So people, they can... there are some cars, but they are trying to people to use their bike and go walking. And all the parking lots there are centered, so the whole urban development is car free. So there's a lot of space for green, for trees, for walking, cycling, and stuff like that. Well, the whole project is really dense. So you see a lot of high rise, but in combination of this car-free public space, hopefully it will bring a lot of quality in this project. And then we have also the Utrecht Science Park. It's where the universities are and where the hospital are, and where a lot of research and development is found out, and it also has a really complementary quality of the city. And also one of the principles is the future-proof city. And when we made the vision 4 years ago, well, there has been a lot of new developments in it. So we have a lot of new visions about how we deal with circularity, how we deal with the climate. We have a vision for the subsurface, so the underground, and it is all brings us that we have in the end a really robust spatial structure and a sustainable use of our space above and under the ground. And we're also focusing on the inclusive city. So it's really hard to organize affordable living. We are steering on that, but it's hard because we see that Utrecht is very popular. So the prices of the dwellings are rising. So we are working on that very hard. And we see also that this is also appearing in the diversity of working environments. So we have a lot of high educated work in here, but it's hard to keep the other work parts into the city. And we see that we really have to focus on this. We give it a lot of attention. That's also the reason why we made the social vision for Utrecht. Then the social vision in Utrecht, it's focusing to reduce inequality in Utrecht, just to promote an inclusive, resilient, and healthy municipality in which all residents have a fair opportunity to participate and develop. And to achieve this, the city will invest in like unequally hard to promote equal opportunities. We do that on social security, affordability of housing, growing up with equal opportunities, and also the healthy urban living idea, which is the most physical, and it really starts about how can you live together, and also what does it mean for the physical living environment. So to organize all those ambitions, we had a few instruments, which is the Utrecht Barcode, the social propositions, and the urban design vision we made the last 4 years. And to start with the Utrecht Barcode, it is, like I said, it shows how many space you need to make a complete city level, all the functions into the city. And we made a separation on city level, like the energy, like green, like culture, or amenities you should provide on city level. And we made a lot of amenities you should have in your own neighborhood or in district. And then you have it about playgrounds, about green in your neighborhood. It's about the schools, the dentist, that kind of amenities. And we also see that the barcode we introduced it like it's a playing field, but in the end we are working and densifying in the existing city. So we made 4 directions to develop different kinds of areas. And we see that, for example, the transformation and densifying of the city are the main things the main directions we use. And one of the first thing to start if you have a development is to explore and analyze what's already there in the city, so you can have an addition of the barcodes on already what's there. And we realized if we want to work with the barcode, we should have more clear how the existing city looked like. Dus we made based on a lot of data, we made this map of the existing situation with the developments already in it. So next to the city center, you see the Beurskwartier, and also next to the water, you see the Merwede. So we have some new developments in it already, and we made for every district a barcode. And you can see that there are a lot of differences. For example, this is the barcode. I don't know if you see my hand. We made one of the city center. You can see it's more dense, which is logical. And you have already one where the how do you see it? Where the companies are, and you can also see that it's more built area in it. So this gives us a lot of information how the city really looks like. And next to it, on this map, we made all kinds of 10-minute circles on real travel times. So, and these are, for example, one example for the football fields, which are in dark green, and then we have surrounded how much area we can reach within 10 minutes walk or 10 minutes cycling. And so you see empty spaces into the city center, and it gives us a lot of information to make decisions on city level. And for example, this is one also one of the map is with heat stress, and also in the most safe neighborhoods. This gives us information if we have to decide where the money goes to, that we can let it go to projects which are in those areas where we have a lot of paved area and where the heat stress is the highest. And for example, the other map shows the playgrounds, and in orange these are the districts where people live with a low socio-economic status. So if you have to choose between a playground in the middle of the city or in a neighborhood where a lot of people live with a low socio-economic status, then it's easier to make a decision about that. And we already are trying to find out, okay, where should the amenities be? Should they be in 10 minutes walk? Should they be in 10 minutes cycling? Or could it be farther away? Because we also see that the space we have in the city is limited. So we have to make decisions that not everybody can be nearby. And we are trying to find out with a lot of people what is the main distance which is right for the people living in the city. And we are also trying to find out what does the barcode mean on project level. So this is one example, which is identification of an old train location. So it's actually in the middle of the city. It used to be with almost empty paved areas with some holes in it, and we will transform it to a high-rise area. This is one of the site visit during the Urban Design Week, Academy of Urban Design Week in Utrecht. And we made this map of, which area you can reach within 10-minute walk or 10-minute cycling. So you see it in the drawing. And we also find out that it's not always necessary to make new amenities nearby, because, for example, what's happening in this project is that there's a new connection about the train track, which make the amenities nearby, not to make more amenities, but to make a connection where you have a bigger area we can walk or cycling in 10 minutes. And we have in Utrecht a team of, they call themselves social architects, and they make a connection between the social part of the city and the physical part of the city. So they made an analysis about, for every district, about the population, how it's transforming, about all the spatial developments, but also an analysis of the existing social amenities. We also do 2 yearly, how do you say? We give every 2 years a question list to all the inhabitants of Utrecht, and we can make talk about what their opinion is about all kind of different things. About, is it cozy? How do you meet each other? Is it safe? What do you think about your own house? How do you think about the connection with public transport? All those things are mapped in this kind of anagrams, and in the end they give an advice about what are the opportunities and cherishing parts of this neighborhood. What should we cherish, and what are opportunities to develop more? And in the end, so all those parts together give us a lot of more information how on neighborhood level, district level, to make decisions what is really needed in the city. So we have the main vision about the 10-minute city, where we enhance the idea of proximity, and we have a lot of new instruments to have all the information. How does the city is really working? Does it need extra attention, or is it already very good? And one of the last instruments is that we made urban design vision the last year, and it was needed. The policymakers, they asked for us to make it because they also mentioned that a lot of citizens of Utrecht are worried about the densification of the city. They think it will be worse than it is right now. So we made an urban design vision, which is about how to make the city livable and with enough quality when we develop into the city. And in those vision we said, well, the identity of the neighborhoods is the starting point for all spatial developments. You should also analyze how it looks like, how people are living there, and how the space is used. So we are focusing on differences in the dynamics. So we have quiet areas and we have areas which are more dynamic, and it tells also something about the density and height in it. So the start when you develop a project is that you make an analysis and talk with the inhabitants about what's the identity about this neighborhood, how is it used over the centuries, and what does it look like. We see that Utrecht has a lot of diversity of neighborhoods, old villages, and all kind of communities. We want to make that stronger. We have also a lot of heritage. We have new historical and new monuments and they also form the identity of the city. And in the end, at building level, we see that the architectural style, the composition, size, and scale, also materials that are also important for the identity of a place. And we see in the city that we've also talked during making this vision with a lot of inhabitants, and we asked them, how do you want the city to look like in a few years? And what we mentioned is that people really like all the amenities in the city. So there's a lot of bustles, and that there are a lot of people there, and there are terraces, and there are good amenities. But so they also really like the quiet spaces, which could be a green structure, a park or something, but could also be a more quiet living area. So we see that the people want both in the city. So that's why we made this map to show that's what makes the city strong, that you have both the quiet areas, the bustle areas, but also areas where there's maybe a little bit noise, like the working areas, but also there will still be roads where cars should be, just to provide the city of all kind of stuff it's needed. I will go next to this. Well, we made a map of the city where high-rise could be or should be, and where not. So we give the citizens some tools to know where the identification of the city will be. And in the end, we made like 11 design principles, which are ingredients for livability and quality in this project. And I think in those principles, the 10-minute city on main level will really, how do you say it? Ends on the lower scale level in the project, in really the plans for the city. I will introduce them really short. So we have 11, and I think maybe one of the most important is that we, in those projects, we make space for the community. So, I see some Dutch words here, but it's really important that you can feel at home and that you have connection with the neighborhoods around it. And if we see that we are building really high-rise building, it's a possibility that it gets lost. It's a risk of anonymous buildings, and that's one of the points we are focusing on, that you can have a small scale communities also in big buildings. The second one is that we call that urban design with human scale, which is about what's the size and the repetition, the depth, the orientation of buildings. So you can have big buildings, but in details and in size, you can make it feel like it's a small scale dwellings. We have some principles about high-rise, how we can make it more human, actually. And we see that the space, the intermediate space, we call it, between the building, the private area, and the public area, it's very important to for meeting people and making also the dwelling your own. So you have a kind of ownership that you can put your stuff outside, and it's making your house a little bit larger, and it's also easier to say hi to your neighbor or someone who's walking by. And another principle is that we have a lot of attention for the ground floor, which is the most important, to have good entrances, to have a diversity of functions, and good detailing. So you really have social security also on the street level. we steer that we have neighborhoods which inviting to walk. So we see in Utrecht people are really taking their bike, and the next transformation we have to make is that they leave their bike at home and that they go walking. So that also means something about the size of the buildings, the crossability between neighborhoods and streets, and also we see that the sidewalk should be wide enough, but it should also be comfortable with enough green, even when, during hot summers. We see that public space will be more and more important because of the high rise, and we are with a lot of people in Utrecht, so the quality is really important, but also that it's a space where people can meet each other. And we also see that it's important for buildings that they can incorporate all kind of utilities, which you don't want to have them in the public space. We're steering on a varied and connected green-blue structure. We do that inside the urban blocks, but also in the public space, for water storage, for biodiversity, for cooling the city. It's really important to that. And we also see that we have to steer better on the pleasant microclimates. It's about wind, it's about the sun, but also making enough shadow. And we also see in the high-rise projects that acoustics into the blocks are really important, because now in Utrecht we have a few dwellings, urban blocks, where we didn't have enough attention for the acoustics, and that the people don't use the inner courtyards, because if they say something to a friend, that the whole block can hear them. So we have to have more attention to those kind of elements. One thing I really think it's important that we leave room for the unexpected, and it could be before we start building, there's enough space for flexibility for cultural events, but it also means that there is enough space for future owners of an house, that they could change their own dwelling and have flexibility inside it. So it's important to oversize all those kinds of elements. Multiple use of space. It sounds logical, but not always. But we really should need use our rooftops with green, with functions, with energy panels on it. But we see also that the public spaces we have in Utrecht, that we should really steer on, that they are not only single use, but that they can use also for other people during other times. And at last, the last principle was about future-proof buildings, which is focusing on reuse, bio-based and energy neutral aspects of building. So that's the whole story of Utrecht. And we see that the need for Utrecht to grow is really hard, but we're really trying to work on that it still remains a nice place to live, to work, and to study. That was my story. So I'm wondering if there are questions.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Really very informative and very thorough. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed as well the story behind the barcode. Really well done. Now, we've got a couple of minutes, actually. I think we have around, you could say, 20-25 minutes for a Q&A. So for those who might have any questions, by all means, you could raise your hand up. Just introduce yourself, who you are, which company or organization you work for. So any question, please.
I have a question.
Okay, by all means.
Hi, I'm Honorata. Sorry, I don't have camera here. My name is Honorata Grzysikowska. I am an urban designer. I was working for several companies. I used to live in the Netherlands, so it's great to have this experience to actually live in the Netherlands and cycle every day. I think everyone, or at least all the urban designers, should live there at least for 1 month because it changes your life completely. But now I have a platform. It's a digital library of master plans, and I provide, I work with as a consultant to urban design projects. But I have an NGO that is called Architektoniczki, and we work with women, and we try to research and find out our needs in cities. And I was thinking, if you were maybe thinking about when you talk about 10 minutes, no, so 10 minutes walk, did you consider thinking of what is 10 minutes, for example, for mothers with kids, or kids, what is 10 minutes walk of kids, or what is 10 minutes walk of elderly people? We did this kind of research with our last project, and it gave us some more insight. So yeah, I was curious if we were also taking this into account.
Yeah, we have the 10 minutes based on elderly people, and hopefully that they are also, it's the same speed as mothers have with their children, but there are all varieties in it, of course. So we take the task low. So I think that for 10 minutes for elderly people, I think probably would be 7 or 8 minutes for vital people. So we have the limit high.
Okay, you already took the slow walk.
Yeah, we took the slow walk as the principle. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now I will also understand it when I read the maps. It's good to know this. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
If I may ask you, I know now Utrecht has got and established what I call it a digital twin mechanism.
Yes.
And do you want to say something more about it, especially from the UK perspective? We are always looking for what I call it an evidence-based decision and design decision when it's come to planning matters and urban design matters. Do you want to unpack it more a little bit? Like, how do you use the digital twin mechanism and the barcode to inform what you believe a good decision or an effective, efficient decision?
Yeah, so with the analysis we made for the barcodes are a little bit separated for the digital twin, actually. But because the digital twin is really based on the 3D of the city. And what we did for the barcode is put all the data together so we could make analysis how the city works. So it's about how much green do we have, what kind of surfaced area do we have, how much is public space, how much is traffic space, all that kind of stuff. And we used different sources about it. Also, the sources of all the companies in the city gave us a lot of information. So we made a lot of connections between all those data, also heat stress, but also where the water goes, if it's rising, and all that kind of stuff. And we are connected it in the system, so it helps us to make decisions where the money goes to. So every year we are we have to make decisions because we don't have enough money to do everything at the same time. And beforehand, we're based on, I don't know actually how it's based. It was not based on data, but the one who had the loudest voice, by example. And now we use those information to make a decision. Should you realize a project which is in an area where it's really heat stress, or are you going to make a project in an area where a lot of people live with a low social economic status? So that's kind of how we use those data, just to have more insights of the city and to make smarter decisions.
Excellent. Now, if I may say, what has been then the role of the politicians in Utrecht behind the vision and behind that healthy urban living? Like how they come to agree on it, you know, and you're talking about 15 years ahead from now, and you know there will be a next political cycle. Do you have any more insight about this?
Well, the healthy urban living vision, just the motto, it's already there for a really long time. And I think 4 years ago we made for the first time really the physical translation of those, well, abstract words. What does it mean? And the barcode really started as a mental awareness of, okay, we have this task of growing, and what does it mean if you want to grow? And one of the most important things in here, and also the politicians are really aware of this, is that we call it the grow in balance. So it means we have to make the dwellings, and we also need to make the amenities and the jobs and the green. And the hardest part is that, well, the politicians, they carry those vision and they all agree. But then in reality, we see that those dwellings, they are really needed, because we have just people who don't have a home or still living at their parents when they are 30, and it's really a sort of crisis. So we see that there's a lot of effort to make them fast and to make them affordable, and that means that other ambitions sometimes are lower because of the rush we have with these dwellings. So there's sometimes a difference in the ambitions we have at a city, and where every politician really carry this, but also to translate it to the real project. There sometimes we have to lose some of the ambitions just to get them realized.
Fantastic. Any more questions? I still have a comment, but I just want to give the floor for our colleagues and participants. Any more questions?
I've got a question, if you guys can hear me.
Yes,
sorry,
please.
I've seen someone's put their hand up. I don't know if I jumped the gun there.
Yeah, go for it, please.
So I'm Tom Eady. I'm an engineer at Momentum Transport. Find it very interesting, the work that's obviously a huge amount of effort gone into that. So thank you very much for taking me through. So as my question is maybe two-part. Firstly so this is obviously established what you could say is maybe like a baseline, and is the intention to do it at like a certain frequency, because like as the dynamics of the neighborhoods and the amenities change, is that going to be then continuously reviewed? And I suppose the second part to that is, with those amenities, and obviously you're asking people who are living in those certain areas and getting a feeling for what that's like at the moment, could that, if you're only kind of focusing on those amenities, and I suppose the barcode, that you almost continuously circularly provide for that group, if that makes sense? And is that that's what I was kind of asking about for the baseline, if that's going to be then reviewed? If that makes sense.
I'm not really sure that your question is really clear. Can you please?
In terms of like when do you have? So if you've got the amenities, you say you've seen a certain area and it's got X, Y, Z amenities, and you're wanting to encourage people where those amenities aren't provided. Is the idea that in a few years' time is going to be, this will be reviewed again, and then you'll see that those amenities have been provided, or whether the future gap is?
Yeah, so the idea is that we keep this mapping how this will provide, and the social propositions really map all the amenities in Utrecht. And the part is that for some amenities, like schools, the municipality is responsible. So we should provide schools for everyone who will need a place. But there are also amenities we are not responsible for, and that's really the hardest part. So, for example, for dentists, of doctors, or the healthcare, we are not responsible. So the only thing we can do is to encourage our partners, like developers, to make space for them and also to provide a lower rent for them. So we have some pressure on them because we if they want to build, they need us, but we are not responsible. So we see also in this case we have the ambition to have it all, but in reality it's sometimes hard to provide those amenities into the city.
That's really helpful, and it's good to hear in terms of there's that slight encouragement, I suppose, of like obviously you can't force those amenities, but in trying to find those gaps and encourage. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Jasmine, if you like.
Hi there. I'm a working planning policy at Coventry City Council, and I had a question. If you could just tell me a bit more about the consultation process. I was quite interested in how you engaged with like the local residents. Thank you.
Yeah, so for the spatial strategy is we made it in COVID time, so that was maybe not the most we didn't. I think we did not enough to connect with the residents of Utrecht. We were not able to do that really well in that time, but for the urban design vision, we made a bigger task to invite people to say, what do you think about the city? What should we provide when you're thinking about a city in 20 years? And so we did a sort of online enquete interview where people could swipe what they liked or what they didn't like. And we had like almost 5,000 residents who did that. So they gave us a lot of information. And based on that information, we did multiple talks in the city to invite people. We also did the interviews, but also we really try to connect all the groups in the city because some groups are harder to reach. So we made a lot of evenings actually to talk to those people and to really ask them for examples what they like or what they didn't like, because it's sort of abstract to ask them what do you like this. So we try to focus on their own neighborhoods to get this information out of the people. And for example, we also did some neighborhood drinks, especially in neighborhoods where there's a lot of high rise, to find out how is it to live in high rise and what do you notice about it. And for example, those attention for acoustic areas, it came out of the interviews we had there.
Thank you. That's so interesting. Cheers.
If you allow me, Sanneke, I just want to say to Jasmine, while you are with us here as well, just on issue of consultation, from our experience with our colleagues in Utrecht City Council, interestingly, in Utrecht now, urban heat island effect is a reality. In the sense, in Utrecht in summertime, sometimes between neighborhoods, close neighborhoods, the variations in temperature could be 6 or 7 degrees, especially between neighborhoods where they have a lot of a gray infrastructure versus neighborhoods with the green infrastructure. And interestingly, some of the neighborhoods are in where there is a lot of deprivation and vulnerable community. The council now, as part of our projects, work with local citizens using different kind of citizen data like mobile applications, sensors technology, different wearable technologies, and so on. They collect data on behalf of the councils, and the council use those data to inform future green infrastructures and public spaces as well. Just I thought I should mention this.
No, thank you. Cheers.
Pleasure. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Hello, I'm Genevieve from Troy Planning and Design, and I'm actually in Utrecht right now. We have a company, a BV here in Utrecht, and we work a lot in the UK. And I think one of our biggest challenges on projects in the UK is proving that things actually work. For example, roads like the Mallee-Single, the combined vehicular and the cycle path that obviously I use every day and works incredibly well. Even the cycle parking, parking underneath stations, see it all working, but do you have kind of access to any data or any evidence that we can kind of really, I mean, we go and talk about it, but actually like tangible evidence or surveys that you've done on those kind of systems?
I cannot give you the answer, but I can link you to maybe a colleague which is from the mobility department, which
Okay.
I think they will have those numbers, because we have now in Utrecht multiple cycle streets, we call them. So the cycles are, and then the car should they are allowed to drive, but then really slow. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you. So is it I could contact you about that at the coming?
Yeah, that would be good. Yes.
Fine. Thank you, Elle.
Maybe one or two last questions, if any. If not, then just I would like to say on behalf of Urban Design Group, thank you very much for joining us for this very informative and very thorough talks. You really gave us a lot of energy, a lot of hope as well for what I call it a better future. And by all means, you could join us as well in the next events, and just keep your eyes on your email or even on Urban Design Group. And we really look forward to meeting some of you in June in Utrecht City. Once again, thank you very much, Sanneke. Really highly appreciate it. And I know how busy you are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.